coming in to check this out, about the $100,000 consultant. And the idea here is to share a model that I've been developing over the last 5-10 years. And because I work for a company as a consultant, and because the world is plenty big enough, and because the size of the problem is absolutely massive, I have no problem sharing with you exactly what I do to gain clients and to deliver the most amount of value as possible. So welcome. Thank you all for showing up. I very much appreciate it. It is very flattering. Your attention is probably the most valuable thing that you could give me right now, and I promise you, I will 100% make it worth your time. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to use the chat. Use the big chat that everybody can see. That makes it just a little bit easier. And there's a couple things that I wanted to share with you about how to build a $100,000 consulting business. Now, it's really not that hard. I mean, basically, it's about, like, let's say you work 10 months out of the year. It's basically having $10,000 months. And so the idea is very simple. You have to provide a value that is so far and above and beyond what you are charging that any client would have no problem saying yes. Like, it would be a no-brainer, just an absolutely ridiculously high value offer. And that's kind of what I've noticed that we suck at the most as Eat What You Kill consultants, is that we have a very difficult time presenting an offer. Like, as in, you are here now, and here's where you're going to be at the end of this, and here's what the benefit that you're going to get is. And so, in all of the services and sales training and marketing that I've done in the last 5 or 10 years has been revolving around delivering an offer. And my offer, until recently, has very much sucked. And it had nothing to do with the actual problems that bar owners have. Now, so if we think about the larger picture, the bigger picture is that 4 out of 5 bars and restaurants are going to be going out of business in the first 5 years. A considerable number of those is in the first year alone. So they need help. And what I've noticed is that they will go to the absolute bitter end in a very empty restaurant and go out of business thinking that everything is okay, thinking that everything is fine. But for some reason, the big 3 still exist to get these bars and restaurants open: friends, family, and fools who invest in these bars where people are running the show that they have no idea what they're doing. And I think I know most of the people in this chat and that are here right now, and I think that you guys can all probably agree. Would you agree with that people typically just don't know what they're doing, and that's why they go out of business? Or am I completely off base? And people, they know what they're doing, and the market conditions just are killing their businesses. Okay, so there's been research from many different places, but the one I look at is recently at Ohio University, and it narrows it down to about 5 different reasons why bars fail. The owners don't get along. They're undercapitalized. They don't market. And there's too much competition, and there's too much compliance. Those are kind of the big 5 reasons. And so if your consulting offer doesn't resonate or solve one of the problems that keeps the decision makers up at night, then you are not going to get a job. And if you cannot make the case for why your service is a no-brainer value, as in they'd be stupid not to work with you, then they're not going to hire you because they don't believe that they have a problem. So what we do is, when I go to work every day, we work, my service is free because it has to be. I legally cannot charge for it, otherwise it's a undue influence. And so because of my employer, I cannot charge for my services, and I still have to convince people, and I still have to sell them. In fact, I would say it's even harder to sell them because it's free, because they see it's worth less. So this is, aside from being incredibly frustrating and just wanting to help, we had to put an offer together. We had to say, like, this is why you should work with us. This is what you're going to get in what timeline, and here's what you are going to gain from our relationship. And so our offer is, we call it the fast batch system, which is basically just a consulting thing. And we say, like, our fast batch system will save you 20% in top line revenue in the next 30 days without spending money on consultants and marketing, right? And so the anatomy of an offer is like, this is what you're going to get, this is how long it's going to take, and this is what you don't have to do as a result of working with us, right? So you're saying benefit plus timeline minus headache. And if you can explain in very simple terms how that makes them money, then you will not have to worry about money anymore. And the reason that I really like this model, and the reason that I'm sharing this with you, is because it 100% works all the time if you get it right. And so you could literally walk down the street if you have a dynamite offer and ask a couple questions to the bar owners, and they will typically give you the same answers that I've gotten year in and year out. Um, and they typically don't know the size of their own problems. So we're going to walk through pretty quickly exactly what questions to ask, how to deliver the service, and how to develop your offer. And then at the end of it, if you're still here, I'm going to give you a link to a system called GrowthWorks, which is going to help you develop your own offer. And then it's also going to write all the content that you need to sell this offer to potential clients, including your email nurture sequences, your presentation, an infographic that explains exactly what your service does and how you help people. And then once you have all this stuff, then you just start bringing it to people. You just start showing it to people. And I'll tell you how to do that too. So the role of bar consultants I think is extremely important in the consultant sales model for brands as well. So if you have a brand and if you approach them with these kind of questions and these kind of answers, then you will gain a lot more trust a lot faster, and you will successfully connect your brand with a problem that actually keeps people up at night, which means that they are going to buy your brand. So this is what support means. This is what continued support means. Because if you're anything like me, you walk into a place and you say, okay, I want to program this. I want my brand to be on your menu. And they say, okay, cool. What's the first question that they ask? What kind of support are you going to give me? So here's what you do. All right, so here's what we're talking about. So that's when your offer comes into play. We're like, hey, listen, I would like to work with you because I've in the past I found out some things that I'm a bar consultant, and this is all that I do, and I think I can help you. Do you have a couple of minutes? I'd love to sit you down and ask a few questions about your business. When you're talking about sales, if you're talking about yourself, you are losing. If you are 80% of this is listening and establishing whether or not your business can benefit them. Like you are qualifying them, and you are helping, and you are understanding the pain points that they have. They'll tell you if you just ask them. And so what I typically do when I'm engaging with a potential client, and this works surprisingly well for CPG as well. So if I'm selling liquor, it's the same thing. You go in there and you start asking questions like, hey, how you doing? Is it okay if I ask you a couple questions about the business? There's nothing that people love talking about more than themselves and their babies. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to understand about the business to see if you can actually help them. And by asking a few specific pointed questions about that are basically economic questions, you can understand more about the business and what their likelihood of success and failure is than they probably do. And so what you want to do is you want to ask them a couple different things about like the economics of the business. So you say, hey, is it okay if you first ask permission? You have to say like, hey, listen, is it cool if I ask you some questions about the business? I want to get a better understanding of how things work here and see if I can help you. Like you don't just assume, like a doctor doesn't give you a bunch of pills when you show up. They have to examine you first. So you have to find out like what the pain points are, and then you ask them, so the questions I like to ask are, how many seats are here? Like you can probably tell, you can estimate like 50, 60, 150 seats, whatever it is. What's your average order value? What's your revenue per customer? They typically don't have a problem sharing this with you. And then from this information, and then you ask them what their pour cost is on their cocktails. And so those 3 bits of information will give you their gross annual revenue. And then if you ask them about their product mix, their P mix, you'll say how much of that is food, how much of that is beverage. And then you can say, okay, well, how much of that beverage is spirits or wine? And then if you're selling wine, then you can actually see what their purchasing power is, and you can understand the size of their business. So what we are trying to do as consultants is we're trying to understand where the opportunity is. And so if their pour cost is 20% and their buying power is $100,000, then we can understand that if we save them 20% of that, then that's a considerable value. And so your service has to be able to deliver on that promise and make it an extreme value based on what you're charging. So let's say if you're charging Okay, let's just keep broad numbers just to make sure that, to make it easier on myself, because I'm no good at math, and I'm just going to this is the kind of back of napkin math that I'll do when I'm walking into an account. So let's say, so bottle economics are not the same thing as restaurant economics. We have to get out of the so yes, we understand that 750 milliliters is around 25 ounces, and then let's say the bottle is $25. That means it's $1 an ounce. And so that means if you're using 2 ounces in the cocktail, then the beginning cost of that cocktail is $2. And let's say that the cocktail costs $20, that pour cost would be 10%. That's assuming it's just a 2 ounce pour of tequila, nothing else in it. And so that is a 10%. That's a 10% pour cost, which is good. I mean, just if you're not familiar with pour costing, 10% is like TGI Fridays. 15% is probably a little below average. So it's a lean operation, which is good. 20% is like the temples of mixology. 25%, you're 100% going out of business. No doubt about it. So using those kind of benchmarks, you kind of establish what the economics of the business are. And so from there, in a single meeting, when you're just sitting down and talking to somebody, you can say, okay, well, cool. Well, looks like you're spending about $1 million on beverage, and about 20% of that is going to be spirits. So that's about around $200,000. And we think that we can save you around 20%. So that's going to be around $200,000, 20%, $200,000. That's about $40,000. And so when you're connecting, so you'd be like, hey, listen, so I want to save you $40,000. And this is exactly what we do to achieve these results. And so you go from you establish their point as you are right here, and we're going to get you right here. And so most of the time, and if they tell you anything different, then they're lying to you. But the thing that keeps them up at night, the thing that keeps your ideal customers up at night, is going to be revenue. It's going to be cash. It's not profits. It's cash. It should be profits. They should be looking at profits, but it's actually cash. And so they don't have enough cash walking through the door. And so if you're saying like, hey, listen, we use this methodology, we use your cocktails, your offer, like your product that you manufacture here, and we're going to use that to solve this actual problem that you have, then who would say no to that? And so, I haven't really gotten into the steps of the program yet, but it's like, if you're able to make a very clear economical case for why they should be working with you and why they'd be idiots for not working with you, then they're like, for instance, like if you hire me, you're going to save $30,000. Like it's going to cost it. Like I'm going to save you $40,000, but I'm also going to charge you $10,000. And out of that, you're going to get a new menu, staff training, blah, 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 all that stuff. And we'll go into like the details of like specifically what you offer. But the point is, you're getting from here to here in a specific timeline. And this, just by illustrating that, even with back of the napkin anecdotal math, is typically enough to get a deal closed. And it just takes practice. You just have to have these conversations a lot of you just have to have these conversations all the time. I've gotten really good at it because I've been doing it for almost 2 decades. But here is a pretty quick way to get past it. So so you're talking about your offer and then presenting your offer to a qualified buyer. Now, a qualified buyer. Now let's talk about avatar for a second. So if you were marketing and selling to everybody, then you're selling to nobody. And oftentimes what people will do is they will hire somebody that they know or that they've heard of, or as a friend of a friend or a recommendation, to do something as business critical as consulting on their bar, which is their main revenue center, which is typically the lowest cost, highest margin revenue center in any bar or restaurant is going to be the bar. There's no labor. They literally pay bartenders as little as legally possible. Which neither here nor there. I mean, that's a whole other thing. But it's a huge profit center. And so if you're not maximizing that, then you're kind of fucking up a little bit. So you're walking into a bar, and you don't just walk into any bar. You're gonna want to walk into a place that you can make the most impact on. And so I typically like to look at bars that are at least $3 million in revenue. And you look at and that means that they have a specific size. They have a specific a specific size range, and they have a specific price range. So I don't serve everybody. And even now that I'm doing it for free on behalf of a large company, like I still don't go into every bar. Because sometimes it's just not worth it. And honestly, typically small bars, small independently owned restaurants, don't understand the size of their problem enough to understand, one, that it's something that they can fix, and two, that's something that they should pay for. And so what they typically do is they just run themselves into the ground. And it's sad. It's sad because people's life savings are wrapped up into these bars and restaurants. And so you see them and you try to help them, and they just can't or won't do what they need to do. And so what I've seen work in the past is, and what I think would be an interesting model, is that like once you get your $10,000 a month that you need to make to pay your bills, take vacations, do professional development, then you can offer a smaller version of your service to people that need it for a lower cost. But it cannot be nothing, because if you pay, you pay attention. So, is this? I kind of get excited and talk really fast. Are you guys hearing this? Is this interesting? I'm like looking into like a blank screen, so I don't know. Let's see here. No, I can't see you. Okay. All right. So does the model make sense where you're not walking into a place and you're not saying, I'm going to make you the best cocktails in the world? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't, it does matter, but there's many things that you have to do to get in there first. So when you walk into a place, you're not talking about like, I am going to make the best menu that's going to get a bunch of awards and you're going to get a bunch of stuff, because everybody does that. Everybody does that. Everybody says like, oh, like I was in fucking Chilled magazine, and I'm the president of the USBG, and blah blah blah. Nobody cares. They care about the things that keep them up at night. And so what you want to do is deliver a solution using your skill and your ability that solves a problem that they actually have, that they actually care about, and that is going to be 100% revenue. And so if you attach your creativity to that problem, you're always going to find a deal there. All right, so let's see here. Maybe more about finding the right person to talk to. I keep running into the manager who thinks they know more than me. Yes, absolutely, 100%. And so I don't like to talk to managers whenever I can. But it's also very difficult to get into past the gatekeepers. And so the managers, yeah, no, this is a really important thing. There are so many places that need help that if you can't get past the gatekeeper, just move on. You cannot save everybody. This is why I have no problem. And you just have to talk to as many people as you can. I've done this cold call where I've walked around and be like, hey, can I speak with is the owner here for a second? I had an idea I wanted to run by them. And that has typically worked. And so somebody may say like, oh, I'm the manager, and be like, okay, cool. And then you run them through a quick elevator pitch. Be like, hey, my name is Jason. Let's talk about the elevator pitch for a second. So you have to be able to communicate your offer in a very quick way. And you have to be able to do it in like 2 or 3 sentences. So it's going to be something along the lines of, hi, I'm Jason. This is my company, and we help bars and restaurants save 20% over 30 days. It sounds hokey. It sounds like you're delivering a sales pitch, which you are. But you have to get this out because you only have about 10 or 15 seconds of attention. And so you have to be like, I'm Jason Littrell from Kinetic Marketing Systems, and we help bars and restaurants gain 20% top line revenue without spending money on consultants or marketing. You have to just lay it out there real fast. It's an elevator pitch for a reason, because they are busy, typically because they're disorganized. And so like, if you were going to do that, I'd be like, yeah, so like typically we work typically we work with the owners of these places. Are you in charge of the bar? And then you start asking questions, and that's your in. If you still have their attention, if you still have time, then you start asking them the economic questions. And then half the time they're going to be like, no, you're right. You do need to talk to the owner or manager, or they're going to throw up some big roadblocks and gatekeep. And that's fine. If you're not going to be able to help everybody. But this is the kind of attitude that you need to have, is that like you are there to help them, and you want to help them. And we all, as bartenders, as service workers, we typically get hung up on we're like, fuck, we're charging too much, or we try to do everything. We bend over backwards and lose our minds. But we at a certain point need to kind of understand that it takes money to do the things that we need to do. So, I don't get out of bed for a consulting. I didn't get out of bed for a consulting job for less than $10,000 because it just wasn't worth my time. Like it would be better for me to stay home and continue to market my business than it would be to go to work for less money than that. And so, and like, when you're setting your fees, I think that it's really, really important to make sure that you are establishing a goal revenue amount, um, while still delivering an epic product, ongoing support, and really going over the top for delivering value for your clients, but still taking vacations, still having enough for professional development, still having enough for time. So I like to say $100,000 is a good amount, because remember, the $100,000, like, you're going to get taxed about 30% on that. So you keep 7 cents out of every dollar that you make. And you have to have health insurance, and you have to have all this stuff, because you have to protect your ability to work. And a lot of people don't think about that when they're consultants. They're like, oh shit, I just got a $10,000 check. This is great. Just another note about that is, if you're not able to transact in a way that's convenient for clients, then it's going to be much harder to do work. So, for instance, a bar owner having $10,000 in cash lying around is hard to find. And you can also break that up, by the way. You don't have to be like, here's, I need $10,000 to start right now. You'd be like, here, I need $3,000 deposit, and then in 2 weeks I need the rest of it, and blah blah blah. Just, be mindful that they have cash flow problems typically, and that if you could take a credit card, that makes it even easier. And so I always like to take credit cards, and I use a company called Stripe for that. I'll put it in the chat. Or your bank probably has some sort of a mechanism for you to be able to take credit cards. But you can also take Venmo, and they can connect their Venmo to their accounts. So making it really easy. But let's talk about delivering a professional looking package. So what we wanted to do was, the thing that you're going to get at the end of this is a content system. But more than that, it's going to help you present your offer. So I'm going to go into this really quickly, and I'll just go ahead and spill the beans right now. You're all going to get a copy of this, and so I'm just going to put this in the chat right now. I encourage you to. I'm supposed to like hold on to the end, and I'm supposed to build up excitement about this, blah 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 blah. But you've already spent 32 minutes with me, and I appreciate that. So there's an app that I've been working on called GrowthWorks. And what it is a content management system that helps you putting your offer. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my screen on how to use it. And I hope that this is something that you can use to really grow your business, because it will help you very clearly identify exactly what your offer is, and give you some very solid content to be able to how do I share my screen? There we go. All right, so I'm just going to share my whole screen there. All right, and I'm going to show you guys how to get all of your content. So this is a system called GrowthWorks. I'm going to just start this campaign, and so we've been building this out so that to make sure that you have all of the content that you could possibly need. This is something I charge $19.97 for clients, but you're going to get it today for free. If you haven't already, just click the link and then sign up, and you'll get sent to this screen right here. And I can't see if you're typing anything, so just tell me if you're. I'll switch back, whatever. So what you want to do is you want to identify some very basic things. So let's say your product is a bar consultation, and the price of your product is $17,000, right? And then you deliver it in 90 days, or let's say 30 days. And you're awesome programming. And say the general topic of your product is bar consulting. All right, go ahead and save and next. And then we're going to talk about who your ideal customers are. So you can say bar owners, beverage directors, F&B directors. So these are avatars, right? So avatars are the type of person that you want to pitch to, and all your communication will be speaking directly to that person and nobody else, because if they willing to invest in their business, is actively seeking support now, will commit themselves to achieving this outcome. So these things are going to be preloaded for you. I won't work with people who don't do these things, right? So you just leave these. So we're looking for wealth, profits. These are the reasons why people buy things, right? So the currency, when we talk about a currency, that is the thing that people would be willing to exchange money for. And again, with bars and restaurants, it's typically going to be they're literally just going to be just revenue and profit. There's the basically the only problem that restaurants have, or it's the number one underlying problem that they all have. And so they're like, okay, well, cool. I need a new bar program, but I often get overwhelmed. I get frustrated. I get stressed out. I get confused, and I get anxious, right? And so the core currency is going to be profit or revenue. And my product will help my customers sell more, right? And then the customer's ultimate outcome is that they can save their business. So this is a little dramatic. I know it's a little dramatic, but you're going to go through in your growth works and you're going to say that I want these core problems to be solved. And so these are going to be the problems that your coaching and your consulting helps them solve, right? And then what's going to end up happening is you're going to get what we call the $1 million message. And the reason it's called the $1 million message is because you're going to be able to deliver this. This is your elevator pitch right here. And you are going to deliver this to as many people as you possibly can, and then eventually people are going to start calling you and say, "Hey, listen, I really need help." And notice that we're not talking about price here anywhere. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take price out of it because they are so confident that working with you is going to be absolutely worth it that they are willing to spend what it takes to get your services, right? So this is your $1 million message, and it may seem corny, but check it out. If you run your own business, you are always in sales. You're going to be the number one salesperson in your business. So after that's done, then you articulate the different level. So we've done all this just now. So we did all this just now. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to go to the product roadmap, which articulates in great detail how we get from point A to point B. And so again, like if we're selling, what we're trying to do is we're trying to sell business profit and help them achieve more revenue. This is exactly how we're going to get there from there. And now there's always there's this magic number 3 that you hear with all catchphrases and all marketing slogans, and they say like, "I'm loving it," or there's just like so many 3-word logos. And so we've divided everything into 3 phases of your program, and then 3 steps in each phase. That's a total of 9 steps to get them where they need to be. Now, this is going to be unique to your program, but once you have these steps worked out, then it's going to be, this is how you're going to be able to explain to your ideal customer exactly what happens when they pay you a deposit and you start working on their business. Additionally, I think it's also very, very important to note is that each of these steps can be sold as an a la carte item. What that means is that you can sell them individually. So for phase 1 would be like assessment, or like assessment, or like you're trying to understand their business. And so you run a profit and loss on their beverage program, and then you do an inventory audit right here, and then you do a systems audit right here. So these 3 things are part of a systems audit, right? Each one of these things you can sell a la carte. So let's say it's a $17,000 program. Then you sell these for like $2,000 each or whatever. And that way, if they just want one of these things, but you, at least you'll have clarity in your own mind that you have a system that solves almost every problem that they could possibly have. And then if they, you could use these as bonuses. You could use these as lead magnets. A lead magnet is where you offer something for free in exchange for a name, phone number, and email address. And that's how, that's how you get them to know, like, and trust you, first of all, and to engage in your program or your service. So it goes on and on. For phase 2 is going to be like creative phase, and that's when you do like creative cocktail development, and then you do staff training, and then you do P&L audit, right? And then phase 3 is going to be along the lines of like continued ongoing support, where you can explain to them how you do check-ins, or your system is going to be your system, but you have to have a system because people like to buy systems. Now, once you're done with all this, if you need some more instructions, you can just go to this video right here. This guy named Aaron Fletcher is going to walk you through it. And then you go, after you've done all this, then, and this is all right, then you're going to go into the design studio. And so, yeah, it's saying that I didn't do all this stuff. So but it will print out it will give you an infographic on exactly what your system does. And then this is basically what you use for your marketing, right? And so this is very, very, very powerful stuff. And so what you're doing is each time, every time that they look at one of those elements of your 9-step program, your 3-phase 9-step program, you have a cheat sheet that tells them exactly how to do it, right? And this is very, very powerful. Not only does it make you look extremely professional, but it also articulates that you have a specific solution and that there are bumpers and guardrails on that solution so that you don't have to go outside of scope. Like scope creep is very annoying. It's very irritating. I'm sure you've had it before where they ask you to do a million things, and where clients ask you to do a million things. And you're like, fuck that. That's not part of my deal. This is a way to kind of say, like, this is what I promised you. This is what I'm going to deliver. Everything else is out of scope. And here's my hourly rate, which should be outrageous, by the way. It should be prohibitively outrageous. But I love doing stuff like I'd much rather stay in scope and do the work that I am good at, that I love, than to go out of scope for an outrageous amount of money because it just typically leads to like boundary issues and blah 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 blah. So do you see the power of this? About how you're able to articulate in great detail exactly what it is that you do and how you do it. I wouldn't worry about being proprietary about this stuff. If you can explain this better than everybody else, then what you're doing is you're exposing a problem that that your client may or may not have known about. And so I love this kind of visualization because you can use this in your social media. You can use this as presentations. You can drop this off at accounts and be like, here's what you need to do. Here's how you fix this problem, and just tell them how to do it. There's different levels of service. So do it yourself is what they're already doing. So they're already, what they can do is if you want to do like a do-it-yourself version, you say, here's the roadmap, here's how you do it yourself, and I will license this to you for $3,000, whatever. And here's the playbook. Good luck. I'll see you later. Would you like me to help you implement that? Is a very, very powerful phrase. Would you like me to help you implement this? That means that you're moving into a done with you or done for you level of service, which is not cheap. And that means that it's a burden on your time, and that it requires more of you and requires some more personal attention. So different levels of service is very, very important for you because if you are offering different levels of service, then people are going to need different things at different times. But you're able to like at a lower level of service, you're able to serve more people. So let's say that you have like your goal number is $200,000 in a year, and so you need to be able to serve two $20,000 client or two $10,000 clients every month. And so if you're running around like a maniac going openings and blah 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 blah, then you're not going to be able to do that since there's nothing scalable about that. But if you have one $10,000 client and then 5 people that are using your system and they're showing up for your support, which you offer in a group one-to-many format once a week, then that is much more valuable for you because you can scale it. And so you'd have 10 clients that are on one phone call, and they typically all have the same problem. So I think that a lot of times we get into this trap where we get retained for a piece of work and then it just takes over, and that makes it impossible for us to be able to serve other clients. And so I would strongly recommend that you have another advantage of using this system the way it is that you're able to differentiate what the levels of service that you have, whether it's do it yourself, done with you, or done for you, right? And if you're able to differentiate those things and offer a do-it-yourself version that they can walk themselves through, like say an online course, for instance, then you can do many of those. You can do infinite numbers of those, and that means that your income is not limited by your amount of time. And so when you're trading time for money, you're losing. So that's why I like to record everything that I deliver to clients, and I'll put it into a learning management system, which I call Kinetic Marketing Systems, which is all housed into an online learning system, and then you can sell courses to any number of people and you'll be fine. So doing live stuff like this for me, for instance, is not very sustainable, but I am recording this, and I do think that there's a value here. So, all right. So moving back to the design studio, you want to build a bunch of marketing assets, as many marketing assets as you can, and they're for different things. So we were talking about lead magnets before. So how about you make a lead magnet out of one of your modules, and you say, here's a thing that describes how to do this, and then you can launch. It will give you literally make it for you based on the answers from your previous thing. And so what you're doing is like, by going through the 9-step framework, you are able to make a limitless amount of content around your product. And you're going to be the guy or the gal, the person who does this one thing. And so, if you haven't dug into this yet, but like, you can edit all this stuff and change the branding, change the logos, change the names, change everything. And so this is all your stuff is already preloaded in here. Is that crazy? These are like merge fields. So I hope that you can see the power of this. And in delivering an offer that is extremely powerful, that is extremely customizable, and it changed the way I did business. Are there any questions so far? Any thoughts, ideas? Are you guys still with me? I can't tell who's here, who's not here. Oh, there's 10 people here now. Wow. I didn't, if you told me yesterday that 10 people would show up to this, I would have thought you were fucking high. But I am so grateful that you guys are here. Hopefully this has been worth your time so far. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share some of this stuff with you. Are there any questions, thoughts, ideas? Is this making sense? Would you like me to go deeper on any of these things? I'm trying to get as much value as possible into this, into a short amount of time. But this is basically what I've been developing for the last 15 years. And this is all systematized and organized into hopefully something that's very valuable. But if you didn't check out the chat, there's a link in there for GrowthWorks, and that will give you all the stuff that you need to develop your offer. Charge whatever you think you can get for it, and then give you all the content that you need to market your offer. Okay, so if you're something, do you have any suggestions on where to start? Yeah, so is there a benefit for going top line profit over savings? All right, so the first question is if you're somebody who hasn't done this before, do you have any suggestions on where to start? Yes, start with your offer. Start with your offer. If you're not, and also, like, I say mindset happens first, then your offer. But your mindset has to be, I need to help people. I want to help people. Forget about the money. The money doesn't matter. The money will come to people who do positive things. Just forget about the money. You have to be comfortable with, like, if you get the opportunity to explain to somebody that you are there to help them, and that you are obsessed with helping people, then that is the mindset that you have to have, and people will respond to that. I promise you. And the problem is so profoundly huge that, as you kind of articulate the service that you provide people, and connect that with the real value, like as in people's life savings, marriages ending because of these businesses that are just sucking them dry. That is where I would start, is that you are there to help people, and they need the help, and they don't know that they need the help. And it's very sad sometimes. So, all right. So that's where I would start. After that, I would move on to the offer. I started to get like dark and heavy, but it's true. Like, a lot of people go out of business and it's not fun. And it's typically one of the worst things that happens in their life. And we can help them. We can prevent that for them by helping them with their primary revenue center. Second part is your offer. Your offer. What do they get? What do they get for it? And don't just say, I'm going to make your drinks great. because who cares? Nobody cares. Having great drinks at your bar is table stakes now. You have to have good drinks. Everybody's got good drinks. What difference are you going to make in the business? That is the important part. And so hopefully I was able to articulate reasonably well how if you connect your service, your product with the financial gain and the outcome that is likely to happen if they follow your advice, and then you should get more deals than not. Bonus points if you offer a guarantee. If you say, listen, like if you do all these steps and work my program for 90 days and you haven't seen any kind of growth at all, then I'll give you all your money back. I don't want it. If you do that kind of shit, then you're going to be closing deals every single day. And you have to stick to it. But this is the kind of the nature of just touching on guarantees real quick, is that if you offer a guarantee, then you can make it so that they have to do certain things to be eligible for the guarantee. Like what I'll do is I'll be like, yeah, it's going to be $20,000 for me to work my 90-day program. And you can make it very clear that they're not going to see you every day, that this is a creative process. They're paying you for what you know, not for what you do. But if they run through all the steps that you articulate for them and they still haven't gotten the results, then you'll give them their money back. And you should, because that means that your service sucks. But what will happen 9 times out of 10 is that people will not do what they paid you to do, and then that's an opportunity to convert their service from a done with you to a done for you service, and then bill them again. Because sometimes people just don't have the ability or resources to do what they need to do to be successful, and sometimes they need more direct intervention. All right, so the next question is there a benefit to going top line profit over savings? I don't completely understand the question. If you're talking about the offer, I would say if you're going to talk about savings, like how much money you're going to save them, then I would have at least a reasonable figure in mind specifically, and that number should be 10 times higher than what you're charging. So if you're going to say that you're going to make them more profit, yeah, I would be able to I would recommend being able to define what that means specifically. And then the more specific you are, and the more reasonably accurate you are to being able to achieve those specific results, the more likely you are to have a deal. But this is really easy to do. So let's say if they happen to know their pour cost, which a lot of people don't, shockingly they don't. If they don't know what the pour cost is, then you can ask them a few questions, and if they know them, they know them. If they don't, they don't. But even if they're like, if their pour cost is 18, 20%, be like, what if I told you that we can get your pour cost down to 12%? We can lower your purchasing costs by doing bill and holds and other strategies. I can introduce you to our supplier partners, and I can easily save you 20%. And that value of that 20% is $200,000, whatever it is. And that's the case you need to make. And you just have to ask a couple really basic questions. What's your pour cost? How many seats? What's your average order value? That's pretty much. And what's the cost of your drinks, right? Here's before I leave, you can find a bar owner tens of thousands of dollars just by looking at their menu most of the time, unless they really know what they're doing. If they really know what they're doing, you should congratulate them, give them a high five, and be like, you guys don't need a consultant because you're kicking ass right now. But if you walk into a bar and be like, hey, listen, the curtains don't match the drapes. I see $12 cocktails, but I see white tablecloths. What's up here, guys? And you can make them $100,000. Just be like, listen, the bars are in the neighborhood here are charging $17 for drinks. So you're welcome. You're going to get away with and that's your free bonus. So it's I would say as long as you're able to articulate the value that you can provide in pretty specific ways, and it's really pretty easy with a couple basic questions, then you're going to make a deal. Another thing that I didn't even touch on is that there are joint venture deals that you can make with brands. So brands have, I live in New York, and there's specific things that you can do with brands and specific values that you can present to accounts. And there's caps on that according to the state liquor authority. Other places don't have those kind of limitations. But if you can, legally in compliance within the confines of compliance, make deals with sponsors, make deals with brands, then you absolutely should, because that's when you're no longer being a beverage or cocktail consultant, but you're all being a marketer too. And so brands can spend whatever they want on marketers. And so if you make a deal where you're like, hey, listen, okay, Herradura tequila, I'm going to program your portfolio into this menu, and I would like you to help this account cover the cost. Well, let's say you can't do that. And so unless there are specific rules about undue influence in your market, then why shouldn't you be able to do that? And so there's a pretty quick and easy calculation for brands to do that. But you say, like, hey, listen, like, so you walk into the account and be like, hey, listen, like, here's the size of your problem. Here's what I think I can do to fix it. Would you be open-minded if I made some partnerships with some brands to keep your cost as low as possible, to keep your orders and keep your products coming in so that you're ordering extremely lean. And we make a deal with a brand that is a high quality brand that I've partnered with before, and we'd like to help you offset the cost, and everybody wins in that deal. You get paid, the account owner, or the bar owner, they have a lower cost, and the reps get a point of distribution. And they love that, and they get bonus on that. All right, next question, and then I got to go. Is most people are scared. Most people I speak with are scared, terrified of scaring away their current customers by raising prices. What do you say to people like that? I'd say that there's plenty of studies that have been done about that. You're going to lose about 10% of people, and then but you're still going to make more money. So let them be scared. It's the cost of doing business. Also, people talk about inflation. It's miserable. It's awful. People are kind of used to paying more for less. But it's just the way it goes. It's just the way it goes. So they're going to make more revenue, but they're going to have less transactions, and that's going to be okay because they will be making more money. I mean, as long as it's not like an outrageous hike. Like, I'm talking about adding like $1, $2. But if you have, if you're selling 100,000 cocktails in a year, that's $100,000 in revenue, free money. So yeah. All right. Thank you guys again so much for coming to this. It's one of those things where I'm just like, fuck, I gotta get this out, and I appreciate you coming here. And thank you so much. There's no offer. I'm not selling anything. I just hopefully you get the most out of the system, out of the GrowthWorks system. It's 100% free. You can do me a favor and tell your friends that I'm cool. I do have a brand marketing system called Kinetic Marketing Systems. MSOps.com. I will plug my business right here, but I've moved into selling software and marketing automation systems, a software with a service, and that is much more scalable for me. I can provide an incredible amount of value to brands by automating the activity of world-class sales reps. And so that's kind of where my obsession is right now. But if you know a brand who wants to put a jetpack on their business and really scale things with automated shelf talkers, cold prospecting, all kinds of wacky stuff, then send them my way, please. I appreciate it. And I love paying affiliate commissions. So if you got brands that are struggling, let me know. And pretty soon I'll be opening up a service to bars and restaurants, but I have to stabilize my business with higher paying customers that I can provide more value. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer a low cost system to help bars and restaurants. And basically, I actually just talked to my team this morning. We started to develop it, and it's going to be we're going to be able to beat Resi at their own game, and I'm kind of excited about that. And the bars and restaurants get to keep the data, and it's much cheaper than spending $400 a month on Resi or Open Table or $750 or 7 rooms. So that's the pipeline. And I will see y'all next time. Thank you so much. And if it's cool, I'm going to send you an email with a recap of this. And I just really appreciate your attention. Thank you. Bye. How do I turn this thing off? I can't turn this thing off. There we go. No, I don't know how to turn this.